This is a Distraction Therapy podcast. Whatever gets you through the day.
Hello, it's Tuesday the 19th of January and this is a Distraction Therapy podcast with me, Rob Watson, and today I'm joined over the internet because we're in this endless lockdown by Catherine Flick, who I used to work with at De Montfort University. How are you, Catherine?
I'm fantastic, actually. Yeah, pretty good today.
And where are you based?
I'm in Leicester. I'm about to move, actually. I'm well, not about to. I've actually just bought a house that's not where I am at the moment. So I'm in sort of Clarendon Park, Knighton area of Leicester at the moment, and we'll be moving to the countryside in a bit. So it'll be really nice.
Gosh, and what's the key stumbling block about facilitating a move during the lockdown?
The key stumbling block is that I only had the offer accepted on Friday. So we've got a little bit of paperwork and, you know, all that kind of stuff that needs to be done before.
And it's the backwards and forwards and have you missed any messages? And is that really your solicitor and not some scammer?
Yeah, all that fun stuff. Yeah. Do you really have that? You know, do you really have the money? And, you know, there's that bit where, like, I don't know if you've ever bought anything for a lot of money, but there's that sort of heart, like, just complete like heart-stopping moment where you hit the go button and you just know there's a boatload of money has moved from one point to another and you're like, oh my God, you know, have I done the right thing?
And you see that it's like on those movies, isn't it, where they're emptying somebody's bank account and it drains the power down. Can you see it down?
And you're like, what if I got the number wrong? Or, you know, like there's like little things like that, you know. Fortunately, I think the solicitors sort all that sort of thing out these days, so it's their fault if it messes up. So, but yeah, no. So this is where I am, and that's where I'm going to go. So we're moving up towards the Bradgate Park end of town. Well, the countryside anyway.
Cool.
So north of Leicester.
I'm pretty good. So you'll be able to distract yourself in different ways.
Absolutely. And I love that this is a podcast about distraction because, like, I mean, so I'm a techie person, and so I'm just on like the internet. I'm one of these doom scrollers, you know, who likes to kind of just see what horrible things are happening on Twitter all the time. And it's just it's been really nice to kind of like, I really like this podcast because it's a bit of a breath of fresh air, and it just gives me a bit of, you know, it gives you even a little bit of space for 45 minutes or so just to think about other things for a bit, which is nice.
Yeah, I suppose that's the idea, really, is that those things that are kind of, you know, occupying our minds, or we use to. I'm not very good at this. This is one of the problems. It's like, kind of, as you say, you can sit on the sofa and Twitter can take over, and particularly with all of the news about, you know, coming from America, and, you know, we've had this period of. There's a really good article by, is it Raphael Bear in The Guardian? About I didn't realise he'd had a heart attack in December 2019, something like that. So he was out of action for a long time. But he's a political reporter, a commentator, and he was just got a really good article. I think it was last Saturday's Guardian about how he's had to learn to let go of social media. And what he does is he changes his password on his Twitter account and makes it something completely incomprehensible that you can't remember. You know, an 18-digit number with loads of capital letters and exclamation marks and things. And he writes it down on a piece of paper, puts it in an envelope, seals it, and gives it to his wife so he can't be tempted to go back online.
Well, that's a nice idea.
Yeah, that's. And I thought, am I getting to the point where I kind of need to do that? So,
I mean, I closed my Facebook account quite a long time ago because I wrote a really grouchy paper about some of the unethical things they were doing at Facebook. This is probably close to 2014 or so. I closed I thought I better practice what I preach, and closed my account then. And you know, it's been so nice. I mean, I still have Twitter, and I do have so what I've actually got now are really small Discord channels. So Discord is mostly used by gamers and stuff, and I'm a bit of a nerd, as I've said. And I have I had a baby in 2019, so I'm on a bunch of mum Discord channels, which is hilarious, right? So it's all nerdy mums, and it's just such a nice, like, we don't talk about politics, we talk about work occasionally, but you know, with sort of a mum cast to it, I suppose. But mostly we post pictures of our cute kids and, you know, talk about poo and things like that. So, you know, it's a bit of a distraction.
I've got most of these things. I did delete Facebook, and then I realised I had to go back into it for, if you like, professional reasons. But I don't use it, and I never look at it, and it winds me up. But I do have Discord as well, and I'm really not following very many people that I interact with. Maybe I should start that again. Yeah,
I think with Discord, it's more like having little chat channels. So it's a bit like having with WhatsApp. It's like a nerd version of WhatsApp or Signal. So you build up a little group of friends that you just kind of, or a group of people with similar interests. And there are Discords for like popular YouTube channels and things like that. But for me, it's just, I was just invited by a friend to this Discord, and it's just been a really nice kind of like, I mean, they're all people who are similar to me, in a similar stage of life to me. And we don't really, and they're all kind of like, because it's gamers and that, and they're nerd gamers, so they tend to be kind of lefty like me too. So we all have similar sort of, you know. So it's actually quite a nice little echo chamber in some ways, but also good support. It's a really good support system, I find.
So what it sounds like they're kind of the pre-Facebook internet days of what it was meant to be like.
Actually, it's exactly like IRC
stuff, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I used to be on IRC all the time. So IRC Internet Relay Chat was the precursor to Facebook and everything, and it's where you kind of hung out, really. So I mean, I had a bunch of school friends I used to hang out with on IRC, and then uni friends, and then one of my first jobs was doing editorial work for a really big software website, which doesn't exist anymore because that's not how software is distributed anymore. So I had to use it for work because it was a really nerdy. If anyone listening to this remembers freshmeat.net, it had the worst name. My mum asked me if it was a porn site. I said, no, it's just a German who doesn't understand how things translate into English. So yeah, but it was a really, really popular open source website. It wasn't open, complicated, but it was like a free software type open source software website. Very, very popular at the time. So we had to use that for work and all that. And I actually became an operator of a really, really big IRC network. I became an admin on that. So that was almost like a full-time job that I did kind of for voluntarily as well. So that was actually it was a really fun time pre-Facebooks. This is around late 90s, early 2000s, back when I was in industry, actually not doing academic stuff at all.
The formative days. So what's the secret for getting the party started on Discord?
You got to have a bunch of like-minded people. You know, I actually tried earlier in the pandemic to set up an academic support Discord, and I invited a bunch of people.
Quite probably the worst thing you could try and do.
Well, I was really upset because getting upset because they were forcing us to come in to teach face-to-face, right? And I thought that was really dangerous, which of course it is. And so I wanted a bunch of people that would understand that to whinge to about it. And so I invited a bunch of people, and there were a whole bunch of people who joined, but I think they're a little bit like you in that they don't really check it very often. So it sort of became a bit of a me and one other person just chatting to each other, and then like we are also chat in other channels, so like on Twitter, and she's a good friend of mine, so we just text each other. So we sort of stopped talking on the Discord, so it's sort of fallen fallow a little. So it's actually quite hard to start a community like that. But I think it really depends. Like, I mean, I have so many different ways of talking to friends because I mean, I'm an expat. I'm an Australian who lives in the UK, so I have a Signal group with all of my friends and family, where I share photos of my son, and my husband's American, so yeah, hence more doom scrolling last week, right? and so we have a very, very international family, so we have to keep up with each other somewhere. And this is actually one of the things that we started doing during the pandemic was actually I started having Zoom breakfasts with my family, so it would be dinner time for them and breakfast time for us. And that was a really nice way to keep in touch. And we only really started, like, we'd had the Signal chat for a long time, but we hadn't really done kind of video calls like that on a regular basis, and it's actually now something that we all really look forward to, because otherwise, we don't really spend much time with each other, and obviously because we're all the way over here, and even my sister, she lives a few hours away from the rest of my family, so it's actually really nice for us all to get together. So that's something that we've started post-pandemic, or during pandemic, I suppose. But yeah, it's really hard when you've got family on the other side of the world. And I was really worried about my parents for a while, because obviously, they're older. And fortunately, though, Australia has been very good at keeping things down. But my mother-in-law, who's in Baltimore, she's a nurse she's a head nurse in a care home there, and she came down with it at one point, and she's okay obviously now, but it was quite scary, So doing things that made family and friends kind of feel closer was really important for me, particularly, just to make sure I was keeping up. Like, I'm a sort of a slightly anxious person. I like to make sure I know what everyone's up to, basically.
in terms of your observations, then, you're quite. Yeah, that sounds amazing. That's like the dream of, you see it in the press, kind of Zoomification of family engagement, all that kind of stuff. To British, that's the complete opposite from my experience. I mean, I have had Zoom meetings, Christmas Day, that kind of stuff, my mum and my sisters and stuff, and my brother. But it's not something we feel compelled to do all the time. We kind of like to ignore each other largely. We have a WhatsApp group where we send occasional, barbed, sarcastic comments to one another.
That's exactly what it's for, right?
Well, that's the only use we've found of it. It's so. Is there a difference, between the kind of the British culture of this, or is it? I mean, particularly going through the dreaded Brexit process, it's like kind of it's like let's draw up the drawbridge and pull all the shutters down. We're ignoring the rest of the world.
I don't know. I mean, how far away are your family from you normally? Like, are they within?
Oh, they're just they're in Liverpool, but it's
so that's not too far to go, right?
But they may as well be in America or Australia
at the moment, right? Yeah. But I mean, I've had 12 years of being very far away from my family, and certainly as my parents have gotten older, I've become, and also I've been back to Australia the last 2 Christmases, so. I've really, I think I've gotten to the point in my life where I'm sort of, realizing that I probably don't have too many Christmases left with them, if that makes sense. So I kind of want to, take advantage of as much contact with them as I can. And so, I think for me, it's really just it's more a focus of being so far away. Also, we had a baby, so they wanted to keep up. They wanted, pictures and videos and stuff like that. They like being part of his life, even, if they can't physically be part of his life. So I think there's that aspect to it as well. But I mean, we started this before. We sort of started we started the Signal group certainly before the baby came along, and we used it more for operational things and sarcastic comments. But yeah, I think these days it's more about just making sure we're all aware of each other in our lives, and as if we were just sort of down the road. And yeah, I think that, and certainly I think if it was just me being far away, it wouldn't work so well. But with my sister and her 3 children being far away, relatively far away as well. I mean, at 2.5 hours, 3 hours drive. So I think that also helps, because she can also benefit from that feeling close thing. Whereas my 2 brothers just live like 5 minutes away from where my parents are, so it's not such a big deal for them. But yeah, so I think I don't know that it's necessarily a cultural thing. I think Australian and British culture are fairly similar, really, to be honest. I think we're a bit more outgoing and a bit more relaxed about some things, but I think when it comes down to things like family stuff, we're pretty similar.
That bad.
Well, I mean, it also depends on the family, doesn't it? Really, I mean, there's we have a particular. We have a particular relation. I have a particular relationship with my family, which is a very good relationship, and I'm really happy about that. But obviously, there's, other families that aren't as close as we are. So,
I mean, I remember, you had to maybe 10 years ago explaining to, young students that they've been on Facebook pretty much most of their lives, and that they will always be in contact with people that they were at school with, and then they'll always be available to them. Now there's always going to be the teleconferencing is available to them. It's got that next stage of that next step thing, hasn't it?
I think though that the teleconferencing is quite an intimate thing, right? I think it's not something that you just do with random people. I mean, like over the pandemic, so I've attended a couple of birthday parties on Zoom where there have been like people that I don't know, and I've also attended a couple of sort of concerts on Zoom, which was very strange, to be perfectly honest, and I didn't really enjoy that much at all because they're just, I don't know, it's very strange. People just talking in the chat all the time. It's like, no, shut up! I want to watch this show and not have you pinging away on the chat, But yeah, it's. I think I feel it's quite an intimate thing, but I mean, maybe that's because I'm getting old. Maybe the young things are quite happily chatting with random people they don't know. Maybe that's what you do on dates at the moment, pandemic dating,
So have you been out of teaching then? Have you not gone back to work after your baby?
Oh no, I went back in May of last year, so he's about 18 months old now.
Right, okay.
So but I mean, I've sort of there was a chunk of time where there was no childcare, and then childcare started up, and thankfully, because it was very hard to work with the toddler running around. Well, he was still actually a baby then. He wasn't really a toddler. He's now a toddler. And he's been my biggest distraction, obviously, because, I'm the sort of person who probably would have gotten very, very down throughout the pandemic, Brexit, US, all of that stuff going on. There's been a whole bunch of crappy stuff going on in Australia as well.
But you've had something more important to worry about.
Oh, he's such a ray of sunshine to me. He will brighten my day. He does all the terrible baby things, like he doesn't sleep, he's teething, so he's upset, he's very clingy, he poos, he doesn't eat his food, he does this, he does that, which are really frustrating, but you get one giggle out of him and that's it, that makes up for all of that, and it's just, he's just he's an absolute delight. He's really cheeky. He's got so much, he is so shady, so I'll be playing with him, so my husband will be playing with him, and if I come down, because I'll be working or whatever, I'll come down, I'll be like, oh, hey Max, his name's Max, and he'll immediately turn to my husband and go, bye because he wants to play with me, not with Dad. So he's super shady. He's great.
That's a lifetime of experience playing you off against one another.
Yeah. Fortunately, Dad doesn't take it personally, yeah. so it's all good. But yeah, he's just super funny. He's really funny. He's only 18 months. He only has about 20 words, but he's got the right attitude, I think.
So did you get drawn into all of that teaching online and
all the
meetings and
so all of that, I mean, I taught my normal module that I normally teach, which was research methods. I did that last year before Christmas, and that had to go pretty much all online. I think it worked out okay, but I mean, I'll see what the students have to say. I've got my feedback coming in soon, so we'll see what that says. This term though, because I was on maternity leave, my line manager's been absolutely fantastic and let me do some catch up on my research. So she hasn't assigned me any teaching, and I know they're desperate for teachers. For lecturers to actually do teaching this year, so it was particularly kind of her to let me have a term off. So I'm still doing things like supervising PhD students and things like that, but I'm basically concentrating on. I'm working with the University of York on a big PhD student program on video games and artificial intelligence, and I'm doing some teaching of ethics to them. So that's a bit of block teaching I'm doing this term. But otherwise, I'm pretty much free to do whatever I like, which is actually going to be writing some papers. I want to get a book proposal in, so I want to write a book on tech for new parents, because I think a lot of parents don't understand really how a lot of the technology works for things like baby monitors. There's a whole bunch of things like sharing pictures on Facebook. There's a lot of stuff that has a lot of security and privacy and other issues. been slagging off Facebook a bit, but a lot of parents are quite happily, uploading pictures of their babies there, and their babies will have profiles by the time, they're and before they can even consent to having a profile on Facebook. So things like that, I think, are really important for everyday people to understand, but it's also really hard to find time to understand all that, if that makes sense. Like if you're a new mum or dad and you're just overwhelmed with having a baby, the last thing you really want is to have to sit there and look through all of the terms and conditions of the baby monitor that you just bought, or to have to think really hard about, where do I want to share photos of my baby where, they're not going to be used for nefarious purposes or whatever. And I've got a background in child protection as well, online child protection. So that sort of will come into it as well a bit. So I think that would be a really interesting book to write. It's just about finding the time to do it.
and the things like pressure from extended family to see things online. My mum regularly complains about another family member, let's just put it that, who basically everything is wonderful and amazing on and everything that these grandkids, great grandkids will ever do is somehow, that nobody else in the world has ever done this, and then nobody's ever done it better. And there's something about Facebook and the like which kind of brings out that kind of Me Tooism, doesn't it? We've done it better and we've got a better relationship with our kids. And I don't know. I don't understand it.
Well, this is the Instagram effect, right? So the idea that, if you look at these influencers on Instagram, they're all leading these perfect lives. And I follow a few kind of parenting type Instagram things for ideas on food and play and stuff like that. But they always have perfect houses, and there's never any mess in the kitchen. There's never any toys on the floor, and you sort of think, this isn't realistic, right? So I tend to unfollow those ones, and I tend to follow the messy ones. But and I think that there's this idea that people get that they should only be showing the positive sides of life. And I think, so this is actually why when I first had my baby, I took a lot of time on Twitter to talk about the not the horrible sides, but the less, perfect sides of it, which I talked a little bit about on my Twitter. But I mean, that's probably lost to posterity now because I tend to delete tweets over a certain period of time. But I really think it's important for, there's a lot of pressure put on new parents to be perfect, and you're already got a huge amount of guilt about, am I doing the right thing with my baby, especially new parents who haven't had any other children before. I think by the time you've had one, you get a lot more relaxed, but at number 2 and 3 and so forth. But I think there's a lot of pressure just to be the perfect parent, and these sorts of Facebook, Instagram, these influencer accounts really just don't help with that, and they make people feel much more guilty.
I suppose if we did an updated version of Call the Midwife, it'd be Call the Influencer now.
Oh, Jesus.
Sorry,
don't even. No, that sounds awful. But that sounds that was that's the other distraction. So, moving on to other distraction things I've been doing, it's been trashy TV. I have to say, I have not consumed so much trashy TV in my life.
So what have you been watching? Because I've reached the point where there really isn't any. I've got Netflix, Amazon, the BBC, I think that ITV, Channel 4, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's nothing on it that I want to watch.
Yeah, so I'm on the absolute trash. So far this lockdown, not this lockdown, but the pandemic, I have watched pretty much all of Below Deck, which is a terrible show about horrible people, and who are very rich and can afford to hire out these massive cruise ships, like yachts. They call them yachts, but as someone who used to, I used to sail boats when I was a kid, and these are not yachts. They don't have sails. They're not yachts. But anyway, they call them yachts, and they're just these big cruise ship basically things, these cruises, and they have a huge staff who are of course all young, pretty things who want to make a boatload of money and also then party in the Caribbean or wherever, and so they run these boats for these really horrible rich people. who are extremely needy. And it's just full of drama and really stupid stuff like that. So I love it. It's great. It's great trashy TV.
It's like, sounds like upstairs, downstairs on the water.
Yes, it's a modern upstairs, downstairs. That's actually a bit like a temporary one because these guests only come for like 2 or 3 nights maybe. And so, yeah, so it's like an instant upstairs, downstairs. Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. Perfect. And I've also watched, this show was on Netflix, but originally it was on Channel 4 did it originally. It's called The Circle. And I was originally like drawn to it because it looked like it was about social media. And I thought, well, given my profession as a sort of a technology ethics person, I thought it might be a useful thing to watch just to see what they have to, what comes out of it. And it's it's actually a very weird kind of like they were thinking about lockdown before the pandemic ever started because they put these people in these little individual apartments in this fancy kind of apartment building, and the only way they can communicate is through this like TV thing, which there of course there are lots of TVs all around the apartment and loads of cameras all around the apartments, Now, it seems to indicate that this computer can kind of understand them and just, directly kind of translate what they're saying. But I'm pretty certain there must be somebody there listening and typing it in for them because it's got a lot of nuance that I know AI definitely can't do just yet. So they communicate with each other through this, and then they have to rank, they have to pick pictures. This is like coming back to this perfect outlook, right? They have to post pictures of themselves, which they've brought with them, and then they have to kind of communicate and make friends, and then they rank each other, so everybody ranks, and then whoever's at the bottom gets kicked off the island, so to speak. Now the twist of it is that some of them are not who they seem, so they're actually catfish, which is the term used for people who pretend to be other people on the internet. So for example, in this one on Netflix, there was this woman who was pretending to be a much prettier version of herself. There was a guy who was pretending to be his girlfriend. And then there was a guy who was pretending to be a much hotter version of himself. And I think there was another guy pretending to be a girl as well. But anyway, so they didn't know if they were connecting with real people, like with people who, or if they were connecting with catfish. And so it was actually it was super trashy. It ended up just being super trashy, but it had this kind of interesting, like, I guess, moral to it, where you really just don't know who you're connecting with unless, you meet them in person. And, no amount of, like, pictures or, conversation can, like, if they really want to hide who they are, they can, basically. So I thought that was actually an interesting one, but it was still just total trash, like... Yeah, and then my final.
You started off with a kind of intellectual curiosity, but you basically just gave over to.
Yeah. Well, the intellectual curiosity was satisfied in about 5 minutes, and then the rest of it was trash.
Because otherwise, if you didn't have the TV, you'd be left twitching the net curtains and looking at what's going on in the neighbours.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was interesting with this, right? Because I just got to really like these people were just people I would never really probably be friends with, in real life, so to speak. But I got to really like them. And I think that was actually one of the interesting things, is that it also showed you that over the internet, you can actually make connections with people that you wouldn't normally connect with in real life, right? So, I mean, we make judgments about how people look, about how they talk, about all of this. But if you're only conversing via text message, how do you pick that, how do you make those judgments online? And I certainly remember back in the early days of IRC, coming back to IRC and the sorts of pre-video call chat that we used to have back on the internet, that was the only way you could get to know people. Like, you might send pictures, but you certainly weren't sending videos because they were too big. You certainly weren't having video chats because, they just didn't exist. So you were just chatting with each other via text. And so, I mean, I made a lot of friends, and in fact, my husband is one of the friends that I made back in that era. And, when I went over to meet him for the first time in New York, I basically had to do a whole load of checking with people that I knew who knew him to make sure he wasn't an axe murderer, right? Whereas these days I could probably get him on a few video calls, make sure he really is who he says he is, and we'd be set, right? So it's a very different situation now, and I really liked that part of it. It sort of made me reminisce sort of back in those days for like when the internet was kind of this hopeful thing which would open up communication and let people talk to each other and kind of be this, like, I guess, like, you know, great leveler in some ways, right? But now we've seen that, like, that's not really how it's worked out in the end. In fact, we've become much more divided and, you know, much more kind of tribal than
Well, I don't think we have. I think sorry, I'm getting slightly serious for a minute. I think the mediating companies have
Yes.
done that. We haven't.
Yes.
We're the same. It's
Yes.
it's just that these companies have come along, Google and Facebook and whoever else, and they've put these fences and walls between us that don't allow us to interact in the same way that we would have once.
Absolutely. They very much guide our interactions through what makes them the most money. So, yeah, so obviously for them it's beneficial if we're constantly arguing with each other or trying to one-up each other in pictures and videos and things like that. Whereas back in the day, you could just sit on an IRC channel and just chat happily with people and you'd never really know who they were. So you'd sort of... the relationships were a bit different, I think, back then. But, I mean, maybe that's just, you know, rose-tinted glasses as well.
Well, the thought comes to mind that IRC is the new vinyl, you know, and maybe we'll see. Stripping things away is often one of the things that, you know, you go through this generational thing and there's a lot of younger people interested in, you know, record sales are higher now than CD sales are. And, you know, you go through these periods where people discover, you know, cassettes, stripping things away that you can't connect. So maybe there will be an element to kind of going back. Maybe that's the joy of Discord. It is a bit more text based. It's less multimedia. You know, it's like
and I mean,
connected.
even WhatsApp and Signal. You know, people are gravitating more towards small group chats and. I think I read an article a while back about the shift away from like things like Facebook and towards things like WhatsApp. Really show that people aren't so much interested in sharing their lives with everybody, but they're more interested in sharing their lives with, you know, select groups of people, and most of those being either people they already know or people that they know have vetted, you know, pre-vetted basically. So it's a much sort of like coming back to this more intimate. You know, the Zoom calls and things like that. It's a much more intimate way of communicating with each other, and you feel a bit more like on my Discord or on my Signal group. I feel a lot more able to share the reality of you know, I can complain about things. You know, I don't have to worry that what I say there is going to come back to haunt me if I decide to, I don't know, go for a fancy job or something like that, right? So it's a lot less curated and a lot more natural. And I think people, this authenticity is what people are really kind of, you know, after now because of the fakeness of Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's very serious, isn't it?
I know, yeah. I was going to ask you, what was your third distraction thing that you...
Oh, so this is my final one was Come Dine With Me.
Oh, no. Do you know, I've never watched it. I've never seen an episode of it.
It's
I have
such great trash.
I have a friend who was invited to take part in it, but he declined.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he declined.
Well,
So it would just be a stitch-up job.
It's totally it's so funny. Like, so Netflix, I think, has curated it quite nicely. So if you go back to the Channel 4 website, it's absolute, like, they've got bits and pieces of episodes all over the place because it's been going on for a long time. But Netflix has actually managed to kind of put them in the right order, and it's actually very watchable. So I watch this when I'm like really, really tired in the afternoon and my toddler is running around and I just want something kind of on in the background to kind of keep me vaguely awake.
You really wanted to just watch some like South American soap opera, but you know they're on YouTube. You can find them.
Look, maybe that's my next rabbit hole.
Yeah. So where do people send in recommendations?
Right. Well, let us know. But yeah, I mean that's been my thing. I think really trashy TV. I mean, I've been doing some of the things I used to do in real life online now. So I run Dungeons and Dragons games with friends online now. I play video games still. I mean, I'm a nerd, like, you know, give me a break sort of thing. and then of course the big thing for me over the last 6 months was what I want to call half-hearted house hunting, which obviously turned into actual real house hunting and then turned into getting a house. But that actually kept me quite distracted for a while because it was nice. It's always nice to kind of go house hunting, online, where you just look at people's houses. I'm a real sticky beat like that, so I like that sort of thing. Yeah.
Peering into people's living rooms and looking at what I do like the occasional walk. I mean, the weather's not been right for it, but as a distraction in the summertime, is walking up and down the streets. I'm in the West End of Leicester, so kind of Narborough Road-ish way, and you can look into people's living rooms and kind of see what's going on.
Yeah. It's like that clean version of that not so nice practice.
Yeah, well, peeping toms, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, it's not like that at all.
No, it's a nice clean version of that. You just interested in other people's lives.
I get very judgmental. So the last couple of weeks, it's haven't you taken your Christmas tree down yet?
I only took ours down yesterday.
Oh goodness.
I have a toddler. That's my excuse.
Well, we're way past the. I was going to say
12th night. Yeah, 12th night. 6th of January is supposed to take it down.
Oh right.
Yeah,
okay.
or was it 8th of January? Anyway, somewhere around there, is supposed to take it down. But
you got distracted watching too much.
Well, watching trashy
Netflix.
TV. Actually, mostly I was just really, really tired because my toddler's been having his molars come in, so he's not been sleeping so great at night. So having that plus working full time, it's not a good.
And have you been able to get out for like a stroll and get out for a walk?
Yeah. So I try to get out. At least once a day. And usually that's to go pick it. If Max is at childcare, I go pick him up. So he's a stroll away from us here. But if we have him at home, so he only goes to childcare 3 days a week. So on the other days, I try to take him down to the park, and I'll get a coffee, and we'll go down to the park, and I'll watch him run around or help him on the slide or whatever, and drink my coffee. Recently, because of all the rain, he's absolutely loved going to Victoria Park, and like there's parts of the pathways there that become basically like little rivers. So he's we've suited him all up with his wellies and that, and he's just been like having a ball splashing. He gets absolutely soaked and freezing cold by the time we get home, but he loves every second of it. So that's really I think that's part of what I why he's such a great distraction, is that he makes me appreciate these kind of more simple things in some ways, like the art of splashing him. Like I can go and splash in puddles now and not look like a total idiot. It's great.
Kicking up leaves and walking through mud.
Yeah, and just chasing birds and saying hello to all the dogs and like all this sort of stuff that if you do it as an adult you look a bit daft, but if you're doing it with a child, it you can get away with it, right?
Yeah, everybody uses their children as an excuse for social interaction.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's probably it's a good reason to have them in some ways.
And are you likely to be a pushy mum?
What do you mean by a pushy mum?
Somebody's go on, you can go and do that. You're good at singing. Go and join the choir, and you're a good performer.
That'll be totally me. But I'm more I think I'm more a pushy mum in terms of like, let's go do all the things and then you can choose what you want to do. I'd like him to have the opportunities, right? So I mean, certainly the things like he loves singing, for example. So if there was a music thing running, which there really isn't at the moment because of it's the not so nice side of having a young child in lockdown, is there's not been any real activities like there normally would be. So normally there's loads of musical things and like sensory play, and you go to like soft play centers and stuff like that, but we can't do any of that. But he loves singing, so we we have dance parties and we have singing. We're teaching him different songs and things like that. And when he's able to, we'll probably send him off to music. I'd like him to learn how to play music because I learned when I was very small, and I've appreciated that all my life. So I want him to have that opportunity too, and and stuff like that. So I've got a whole load of plans for him, but ultimately, once he's sort of got the basics, I guess it'll be up to him to decide what he actually wants to do, I think. Yeah. And
of course there's the kind of experience of the boredom threshold that is kind of absent from a lot of parents. And now I don't know what discussions you get with people. It's like, you've got to be entertained, you've got to be busy. Whereas I, growing up in the 1970s in Liverpool, you kind of Sundays were just there was nothing to do. There was never anything to do. And
I'm
particularly
a big fan
at this time
of
year when there was nothing, the weather was awful as well. What could you do?
Yeah, well, I mean, we already kind of do that with him a bit because so we have sort of we do supervised play in like if it's say a horrible rainy day, he'll play mostly in our front room. And but you know, one of us will sit there and supervise him. Now it's interesting because with me, he plays very differently than with his dad. So for me, he wants me to be very interactive with him. So and then he gets cross and throws things if he thinks like I'm ignoring him. But with his dad, he'll quite happily play quite independently. So and like. My husband can sit there and you know just like he just like lays on the sofa and just kind of you know gets up occasionally and goes and plays with him, but he's quite happy playing independently with him, which is really nice. It's a good skill to have, right? But with me, he's just like he wants me to be there all the time. It's a very different experience, but I guess that's kind of mums in some ways.
Yeah, it's that stage of development at that age, isn't it? It changes. You'll probably find you'll be sitting there in 3 months' time saying, "Why doesn't he want to play with me anymore?"
That's it. So you know, in some ways it's exhausting, but it's also I realise it's going to be short lived, so I can't be too mad about it. But yeah, I mean but we also I always make sure we go out and do things like that. That's more my style. So we'll go for a walk. We'll go play in the garden. We'll go, you know, we'll get out a thing that he doesn't normally play with. Like he's got this like tunnel thing that he likes to crawl through, but it's a bit of a faff to get out. Stuff like that. So I try to do specific activities with him. Like we do drawing. We'll do, you know, messy play. We'll do water. You know, we have a mat that I can put on the floor that's waterproof and soaks up water. So I'll get, you know, trays of water out and you know soap bubbles and things like that, and you know we'll play with that, and that stuff his dad wouldn't do with him because he can get away with being the sort of the independent play guy, which is fine. I mean it's our different sort of styles, I think, but also what we can kind of I think it also teaches him different play styles as well.
And I'm assuming there's no pets in the house yet.
Oh, we have a cat. She's been very good with him actually. But she's an older cat, so she's quite patient generally. So, yeah, she lets him pet her and lets him know when he's doing the wrong thing. But she hasn't scratched him. She just, you know, claws in, kind of bats at him, and it gives him a bit of a fright. And that's kind of what he needs, really. Yeah. He loves dogs, though. We don't have dogs.
Not yet.
Not yet. No,
Not
well,
yet.
This is right. So we're moving up towards Bradgate
Are you a
Park.
cat or a dog person?
So I was a dog person growing up, so we always had dogs growing up, but the cat came with the husband, so, you know, it was a package deal. But I'm actually quite allergic to cats, so I have to take antihistamines every day, but, you know, you kind of, like, I really, you know, she's a great cat, she's lovely, so I think I'm a bit of an either-or. I like the cats, you don't have to worry too much about them, you just feed them and water them, and they kind of sort themselves out. With dogs, they're a bit more... You need a bit more interaction with them than cats. So the lazy side of me is quite likes being a cat person, but you know, when I'm on a walk, it'd be nice to have a dog. You know.
When I've been on Zoom meetings, it's been the moment when the pets come in and you know the cats walk across the keyboard or the dogs are yapping around their ankles. They're the bits that everybody suddenly likes.
Yeah.
And everyone, oh, I'm really sorry about me. My dog's just coming. No, show us your dog. We want to see your dog.
Yeah.
You know, that's the bit that everybody's really kind of alert for because, you know, the meeting drones on and people are kind of looking through agendas and going through the business. And then all of a sudden there's a cat there. And you go, oh, look at the cat.
Yeah. It's the cat tax. So Back
tax.
in the cat tax, you have to show your cat. If a cat shows up, you have to show the cat off or dog or whatever. But I used to teach a second year course a while back, and one of the things I did at the very end was record a video of me explaining how they should record videos, basically. So they were doing videos, and I used to have my cat in it, and it was basically taking them through how to do the marking of. So they had to do peer marking of these videos. So I recorded a video that showed them how to do the peer marking, and I'd always have my cat in it. And it was always funny to see because they had to mark my video as part of the, you know, to show that they could do it. And it was funny to see what how many people mentioned the cat. It would be like 10 out of 10 for the cat. It was always funny. Yeah.
Well, I used to say that, kind of when you're sitting in meetings and you see people flicking on the phone, and they're listening to what's going on in the meeting or not. I always used to remind my students that what people are actually doing is either looking at holiday destinations or pictures of cats and dogs. But now it's the other way around. It's like you can bring your cat in or your dog in to the meeting, and it can be part of that. And that's you no longer have to hide. This teleconferencing thing is the great leveler, isn't it? It's like it changes the dynamic of the workplace and the structure of meetings and things like that. And the person who's got the cutest cat is the person who really wins. The mad cat lady or man gets the power. Yeah.
Well, it's actually also interesting with the teaching, right? So I did some synchronous sessions where I'd be sitting there and, people like my husband would walk in behind me, or the cat would come in, or, occasionally there'd be a childcare emergency, so I'd have to have the toddler or the baby with me, and they were the stars of the show all the time. Like, it's like, come on, seriously, I'm here trying to help you with things, and all you want to do is talk about my cat. Okay, that's fine, let's talk about the cat. But I think it humanizes us a bit. I think it certainly is, as academics and lecturers, sometimes we're a bit distant and a bit like on pedestals, especially like, I'm not particularly famous or anything, but I can certainly see more famous sort of professors and all that kind of being almost brought down a few notches by their humanization in this sort of scenario where they have to be in this quite dynamic situation.
They have to be colleagues and fellow human beings. They can't be lofty superstars of whatever profession it is. They kind of
and I think that's great for students.
Yeah.
I think that's really great for students.
It's great for us all. Yeah,
I think to be honest, it is great for us all. I think it's just nice to see people in their kind of natural environments in some ways, isn't it?
Yeah, and the kind of one of the things I've kind of tried to explain to people, we can't see each other on video because we're just doing this through audio, and actually there's a preference to that for the ability to listen. I think is quite important, using headphones and everything. But when you're seeing people and they're just against a blank wall, or they've got the world's most dullest bookshelf behind them, and you kind of and this sounds terrible, but you realise I don't know whether I should say this. Shall I say this? How empty people's lives are.
Yeah. Whereas I think maybe what I'll do for the photo for this podcast is take a video shot, like a screenshot,
holding your cat and your baby.
But just to show the absolute chaos behind me. I mean, this is the kind of it's a study. It's an improvised study. It's a guest room. It's the laundry sorting room.
I was
it's
about to say the big pile of ironing in the back. Brilliant.
Yes.
I'm fed up with all of these curated backgrounds that look as if they come out of a Habitat catalogue or something.
And then my husband's usually behind me on the other desk in the room. So he's not here right now, but he's often in the background as well. So it's such a funny whereas I think that's a bit of the desire that people have for those backgrounds, the fake backgrounds.
One of the things I've noticed, there's kind of an age and a class thing about this as well, because homeowners or people with secure tenancies, when I've done stuff with young people and they've been kind of sitting using their phone and lounging on the floor listening to the session, and they're in a room where they've not tidied up, or there's they haven't got the space to tidy up or whatever. There's a real distinction between, and I kind of get I've reached the limit of listening to things like podcasts and Zoom meetings where there are professionals talking, and the language, the tropes of language are all the same in terms of everybody uses the same kind of terminology and the same kind of buzz phrases and everything, and I'm desperate to get away from it. I'm desperate to kind of plug into a network where people maybe I should go and work in a factory or kind of a warehouse or something and have conversations with people who aren't super educated and super managerial in their life practices, but they it's like there's a kind of a different way of communicating with each other, and kind of zoomed out with it all.
Yeah. I mean, I sort of think about the people that I interact with every day, and because, because of the way that we are at the moment, I interact more with the shopkeepers and that up the road and my neighbors who are, they're teachers and truck drivers and things like that, and than I do with my colleagues, because we don't have those kind of just water cooler talks right at work anymore. You have to kind of book someone in for a Zoom meeting, so I actually don't have much gossipy chat with any with my academic colleagues. It's more with some of my friends, and I mean my friends are teachers and that as well, so it's different, like it's a different level of conversation, I think, and I'm actually much happier for it because I hate these kind of pretentious let's talk shop type discussions. I'd much rather just chat about trashy TV or
cats and babies.
Babies, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Than have be just sitting here trying to convince you of something, or trying to show my worth as a human being in some way. It's just it's a much more natural, more personal, I think, in many ways as well, because it's about getting to you as who you are and what your values are, much more than what your value is to somebody else, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's a really great way of thinking about it, and I think the kind of the screen, the image, the Zoom or Teams or whatever it is, with the tile of all these faces in there. I prefer the meetings. I was discussing this yesterday with Something Support, and we were talking about, do we encourage people to turn off their cameras during the presentations? And I said, actually, I prefer it if everybody has their camera on. I prefer seeing the faces. I prefer people sitting, eating their lunch or checking their messages. Or
yeah, but they won't, will they? Because they'll know they're on camera, so they'll be sitting there like either discreetly eating their lunch just slightly out of camera range, or they'll be kind of like anxious about looking like they're not listening, or whatever.
It's the projection, isn't it? When actually we know you're flicking through the Daily Mail, looking at the latest gossip. It's that's what everybody does, but nobody wants to be the person who breaks out of that.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I think there's also my students, I haven't seen a single student, apart from the ones that came to a couple of the face-to-face sessions, they've all had their cameras off all the time. And you know what? I don't mind that at all, because I don't know what situation they're in.
Well, that's easier than lecturing where you have to stare at the blank faces. So you may as well stare at a blank screen. Absolutely.
In fact, I find it actually, it's a bit less distracting in many ways, because I can just concentrate on what I'm saying rather than looking at, are they listening or whatever. Because to be fair, they could be in any situation. And who am I to judge how they're here, right? They've logged into this session. To be honest, in these times, that's quite a huge ask just to start with. And, I think it's really important to allow them that choice about how they want to present themselves. So these academics who are like, you must turn on your camera to students, I think that's awful. I think they should have, give them some agency, give them some autonomy, let them choose.
That empowerment of feeling confident to be themselves in the situation where they are, rather than feeling as if they have to conform. I've got fed up with the number of meetings I've been on to where at the end where people, well-paid professionals we've shifted everything online. Sorry, this might sound terrible. It's a moan. It is well-paid professionals who've shifted a few things online. Well, you were getting paid for that. Don't give yourself a clap for that.
Yeah.
There's more important things to give yourself you're doing your job.
Yeah.
Whereas when you've kind of you've not got the resources and you've not got the facilities, I think that's more important for us I would like to see that, but you've got to create the right kind of space for it and the right kind of environment.
Exactly. I've had students ask me for things like extensions on assessments because they're sharing their computer with their sister, or they only have a phone, and so they can't, it takes them quite a while to do the writing on their phone. I'm just sitting there thinking, oh my God, how could you write a 2,000-word essay on a phone? That's just incredible. And so, of course I'm giving them the extensions because but these are sorts of we wouldn't normally be able to give extensions for this sort of thing because they'd be expected to come in and use the facilities at the university, for example, right? So, I mean, so it's brought out. I mean, I think it's not, now we're not distracted anymore, are we? We're actually talking about it, but I think it's really shown just how unequal, our society is in terms of access to technology, particularly. And just, or resources more generally, I think. But even those who can afford to come to university and who can afford to, pay ridiculous amounts of money to accommodation and things like that, they're obviously still that's what takes their money, right? And so then they're stuck if they can't actually use the facilities. And that's I think that's really sad.
Yeah, for me, it's the poverty of imagination that you can use this stuff in a more interesting and creative way. And as we talked about, we kind of everybody sitting upright, looking attentive at the screen when they're on a Zoom or Teams meeting. It's actually, there's a million different ways. I'd really like to see you out. If you've got a phone and you're happy being around, put it on your selfie stick and go and sit in the park and do your meeting.
Oh, that'd be brilliant.
Let's think of ways of being more creative about, and that's what I like. We started doing these sound walks, which when the lockdowns eased, we'll get out and do one before you move away from the city.
Well, you can come out. You can come out to me, maybe. You can come visit me. Yeah,
that's a great idea.
Have you got a dog? You can bring the dog.
No pets, unfortunately. So it's far too restrictive. So what are you looking forward to doing then? I know this is like that trite question, isn't it? What will you do when lockdown's over? But it's what it is. Yeah. For me, I always say it's sitting in a coffee shop ignoring people. So it just means I'm ignoring people at home, but I can sit somewhere in public and ignore people. That's what I'm looking forward to doing. No, you know what?
That's exactly what I want to do too. I want to go to a coffee shop and work. That's what I want to do.
With my "Don't disturb me" face.
Yeah, I want to go into some. So my working coffee shop is St. Martin's right in town, and because they do I know the owners as well, so that helps, and we've been quite trying to support them as much as we can through all this, but there's only so much you can do, right? But I love just chilling there, and I actually get a lot of work done in a coffee shop because of that kind of hum and that buzz of people around. I really like that, so I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to taking my kid to some soft play centers, that sort of thing, so, places where I don't have to worry about him not,
somebody else is watching him.
No, it's actually more about the social distancing because it's so hard to keep toddlers and babies from interacting with each other, and so not having to kind of be on him the entire time saying, oh no, don't go on here like this. This girl's she's on there, so. We can't go on the slide or whatever.
To police them,
Yeah, exactly. So that sort of thing I'm really looking forward to. And just kind of the sorts of I want to go back to a swimming pool. I love swimming, and I really and Max he loved swimming back when we were able to go a few times before the lockdown started. And I really want to take him back in the pool because he's half Australian. He needs to know how to swim. I don't think you're Australian if you can't swim. You can't claim to be an Aussie if you can't swim, I think. So, so I think that's really important to me as well. And I mean, I'd really like to go and visit. So he hasn't met half his family in America, hasn't met the American half. So I really want to travel there and do the grand tour of all the friends and family in America, because that would be really good for him as well, because he needs to know that side of his nationalities as well. I mean, although he's a secret American, we've not actually registered him as American because
he'll be able to have 3 passports.
He could technically have 4 passports.
Wow! So he get every one of them for him. I can only have one. I've got the world's worst passport now. Can't go anywhere on it.
Yeah, so he's got Australian, British passports. He could get American, and he could potentially get Nigerian as well.
Wow!
But my husband, he can't find any of his Nigerian paperwork, so I think that last one's going to be a bit hard to do. But he's pretty set with. Just the Australian and British ones, he's actually pretty set. We're trying to avoid the American one because it means that as soon as he gets a job, he has to start paying tax in America. So we don't really want him to have to deal do that, given that he'll it's unlikely he'll ever live in America. And then we want to give him that choice, right? So he can become a citizen whenever he likes, really. So it's not a big deal.
Yeah, it depends how things go over here.
Well, I think,
that's
to
a
be
subject
honest
for
with
another
you,
conversation.
I think we'd probably go back to Australia before we went to America.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad in Australia, but not as bad as yeah. But we're making a big move. I think we're pretty committed here now. I mean, it looks like Brexit's not going to affect my source of income, particularly at the moment in terms of research income anyway. So I think I'm pretty safe in that regard. So I think we'll be here for a while. So that's why we've committed to a family home and with enough space that we can fill it for a few years now. So
with a couple of dogs and a few more cats.
Well, yeah, and guests and things like that. So we actually will have a proper guest room, not just
a musical instruments and a paddle and pool.
Oh, that sounds brilliant. A music room. Yeah. It could be the music/craft/cat/Zoom meeting room.
And you'll have a small room in the attic as your study. So you'll be ensconced away.
The Harry Potter cupboard.
Yes, but all of the servers will be right. You'll have the best internet in the house, and everywhere else you can't get any reception.
Oh dear. Yeah, well, that's the problem with moving to the countryside. We have a massive downgrade to our internet, but we're looking at there's like community fiber funding things that you can do. So we might see if we can introduce ourselves to our neighbours by getting them on super fast broadband.
Yeah, get some state subsidies for it. That's always good.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so that's a good way to meet your neighbours, isn't it? Get them fast broadband.
Right,
we're such nerds.
It's been brilliant chatting. An hour has passed very, very quickly. So
yes.
What's the best way? If anybody, you're on social? You're on Twitter? You said.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter. So I'm at Catherine Flick. At Catherine Flick on Twitter. I actually have a podcast as well. If you're interested in video games and ethics, which is very niche area, really.
Where do people find that?
That's notjustagame.eu. It's a video game podcast with a friend of mine who lives in Canada at the moment. So
cool,
very exciting.
Well, it's good to know that. I find the kind of doing of the podcast is I have no idea who listens or how many people listen to these podcasts.
I think that's the magic of it. I don't want to know, to be honest. Occasionally I get people writing to me saying, I really enjoyed that episode, and that just brightens my day so much. But I don't really want to, you don't want to get hung up. You do them for the fun of actually doing it, not for people like, dear listeners, we love you, but it's not about you. It's about us.
It's about us. Well, maybe that's the name of the next podcast. Yeah, it's about us.
Yeah, thanks. It's been really fun. I've really enjoyed it.
I'll speak to you soon. Yeah.
Cheers.
If you want to find out more about, hang on a second. I'll do that bit again. This is where I normally do the kind of where you can find the podcast and where you can get in contact with me, and I never edit. So it's Rob W Media. The podcast goes up on robwatsonmedia.net, and it's available on iTunes and Google, and I'm going to try and sort out Amazon and Spotify and things like that. Just look for Distraction Therapy Podcast. But until next time, thanks very much.
This is a Distraction Therapy Podcast. Whatever gets you through the day.